Hey guys, KHJEDIMASTER here, and today I'm going to be actually doing another commentary, which is something I only do on occasion, because normally I do rants or other videos, or Power Rangers / Super Sentai videos or whatever, but anyways, this commentary is going to be on the TheArchfiend's video on Square-Enix, his rant about Square-Enix, and like with Big Al, I have nothing against the TheArchfiend. I think he makes some pretty good videos. I don't watch all of his videos, but this one was, while he did make some good points, for the most part, it wasn't very well thought out. I mean, now keep in mind, this video was made back in 2008, so Final Fantasy XIII was not released yet, because he mentioned something about Final Fantasy XIII, but anyways, on with the video.
First, I want to say that Final Fantasy X, a game made by Square-Enix, is my favorite video game of all time, okay? It is a great role-playing game. I mean, I can even overlook the fact that Titus is a totally screaming little squealy emo bitch in that game. I can look past that. That game is so good. There's so much content to it. There's so much to do. It's such a long time commitment. And I've actually replayed that game, I would say, about 8 to 10 times. And that's a lot, considering how much there is to that game. Because that's about a 50-hour time commitment, unless you blow through the game in under 30 hours and take a bunch of shortcuts and don't get a lot of shit done that you should get done in the game. But whatever. Yeah, I love the game. That, my good friends, was the last good thing that Square-Enix had ever made.
I beg to differ, because I've played games that are made after Final Fantasy X, and don't get me wrong, I love Final Fantasy X. While I do not like it as much as Final Fantasies V, 6, 7, and 9, it's definitely in my top 5 of my favorite Final Fantasy games. Number 5 at that. But, anyways, that wasn't the last, well, at least in my opinion, it wasn't the last good Square Enix game made. It might have been the last good main Final Fantasy game number title that was made, because I have never played 11, 12, or 13 yet, so I couldn't give my opinion on those 3 games. But no, Square Enix has made plenty of good games since then. The Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, Birth by Sleep, Kingdom Hearts Recoded, Dissidia Final Fantasy. I haven't played much Square Enix games besides those released after 10, but they have made some pretty good games after Final Fantasy X. But anyways, let's move on.
Okay, now they made some stuff since then that was pretty decent, and, you know, a few things that were kind of hit or miss, and a few things that were hyped up to be way more than they should have been.
Case in point, Kingdom Hearts 2.
Okay. Where did Square Enix go wrong? And when I say Square Enix, I'm talking about Squaresoft, Square, however you remember it, all the various connotations the company has gone through. Okay, one thing that really pisses me off within the past 5 years with this company, I would say about actually 5 to 6 years, is that they take forever to make their goddamn shit.
Like I've said with the Kingdom Hearts fans who are really impatient about Kingdom Hearts 3 coming out, be patient about games coming out. They don't come out as fast as they used to back in the 90s, because games that were made for the NES, Super Nintendo, and Nintendo 64, and, you know, in those generations, games didn't take as long to make. Sure, they might have taken at least 6 months, but that was pretty quick compared to now. Now when you have stuff like full 3D, cutting-edge 3D, it takes longer to make these games now that they utilize voice acting, because they gotta hire voice actors, and sometimes the voice this is mainly a problem in sequels. Sometimes the voice actor for a certain character can't come back, so they have to take time to find a new one, and that makes production longer. But production is longer now when you have the high definition graphics, so games, especially RPGs, because it takes time to develop the stories for those. So yeah, especially now with RPGs, when it takes time for the story, it's gonna take at least 2 years to complete an RPG video game. And also, do you want them to rush their games? It takes time, like I said.
Final Fantasy XII, a game that I was actually looking forward to, but you know what? I became so jaded with that shit because it took over a year past its projected release date till it finally came out. I mean, okay, I know these games take a long time to make, and they have a lot of content to them, and, you know, there's a lot of little nuances to the game that have to be fine-tuned. But Jesus Christ, you can't even hit a target date within a year?
Unless this was officially announced by Square-Enix, it would be announced on a certain date, and it didn't come out till a year later. Most of these projected release dates are just speculation. Take Kingdom Hearts 2, for example. When it was first announced in September 2003, around that time, it had only been in production for a couple months. It was initially projected by fans and speculated to be released in December 2004. Then it was projected January 2005, then September 2005, then December 2005, and then finally it was confirmed for March 2006 in North America. Before the March 2006 announcement release date, all those release dates were just speculation. Square Enix had never given their own word onto if those were official release dates. While there was later a delay for most parts of the eastern part of the United States, the game didn't come out till April 1st because of shipping delays, and I was one of the people affected by it, though luckily a nearby Toys R Us got it on the 29th, the day after it was officially released. But besides the shipping delay, all those other release dates, those weren't delays, those were just speculations. So yeah, unless this was a official release date by Square Enix and got delayed by a year, then that was just speculation with the projected release date.
Okay, they already took 2 to 3 years to build it. They gotta take a 4th year plus change in months. Give me a break, Jesus Christ. Look at half the other games that are out there. What is there, 500 less people working on Final Fantasy games than are on other games?
Gaming companies sometimes overestimate when their games are going to be released. Like, they might estimate it's going to be out in a certain year, and it turns out they don't have... It's going to take them more time to finish it, so they'll have to delay it. Case in point, Super Smash Bros. Brawl. It was originally going to be released in December 2007, but then it got delayed to February 2008, then March 2008, so they could fine-tune the Wi-Fi. Sometimes gaming developers overestimate when the game is going to be released. They think it will be released a certain date, but it turns out they need more time to finish it. That happens a lot.
Okay, yeah, so Final Fantasy XII. That started the trend of what I call not finishing a goddamn game because it sucks. I know, pretty clever name, right?
Like I said earlier, Final Fantasy is an RPG. These RPGs take longer to make than sports games or first-person shooters or platformer games, because RPGs really focus on the story. First-person shooters and platformers and sports games usually do not focus very much on the storyline. If there's a storyline, it's usually very simple. RPGs, it's gonna take a while to come up with some sort of battle system and full story and develop the story and get voice acting and develop the characters. That's a big part of RPGs. The story has a lot more focus than on other games, so it's going to take longer to develop those games than it would take to develop a Mario game, since Mario games, while there is a story and a plot, the plot doesn't get a lot of focus, the gameplay does.
So yeah, I played Final Fantasy XII. I picked it up. The one thing that I noticed right off the bat that pissed me the hell off is that you cannot name the goddamn characters. Not even name a character.
Okay, so you're gonna make a huge deal about not being able to name your characters? It's just a simple part of the game. The reason they don't do that anymore is because of voice acting. I mean, yeah, in Final Fantasy X, you could name Tidus, but because of that, they didn't refer to Tidus by name. But anyways, so I don't mind the fact that you can't name your characters. In fact, I prefer to keep the characters' names by their official names released in the games with their default names.
In Final Fantasy X, you can name Titus, and I'll scroll through on the bottom here some of the great names that I've gave Titus over the years, and the years of playing the game, but yeah, so anyway, some of them are pretty funny. Final Fantasy XII, no, you can't do that shit. That is a staple that has been in Final Fantasies since number goddamn friggin' 1.
Well, do you know what? Final Fantasy I was back in 1987 and 1990 for the United States. It's not 1990 anymore. By the time that video was made, it was 2008. 18 years later.
We're talking about the NES days, when there was the little 3-letter characters. You could basically give your character your own initials.
Back then, Final Fantasy had a simple story. They didn't have officially named characters. So, yeah, anyways. Those days are over. I'm sorry.
Final Fantasy XII can't do that shit anymore. Okay, that's a minor nuance. But you know what? That's what pissed me off right off the bat with that game. Okay, what else about Final Fantasy XII? Well, they installed this stupid Gambit system. I mean, it's so great. You can basically just program how you want your characters to fight, put the controller down, and just watch the goddamn TV and not interact with it at all. What kind of bullshit is that?
Yeah, I agree that battle system is stupid. Just watching your characters fight. I mean, yeah, watching your characters fight, where did they go? I've heard that. I mean, Final Fantasy XII gets a lot of mixed reviews. I've never played it, so I can't really give my opinion. But the whole Gambit system, with just being allowed to watch your characters fight, that's stupid. But here's a simple solution. Just don't install the Gambit system. Just fight with your actual characters.
Jesus Christ, it's a video game. You're supposed to sit there and play with it and show the characters what to do and do different functions. Jesus Christ, you can literally set up that game, touch the controller maybe once every hour, and that's all you'd have to do. What kind of bullshit is that? Square, in the words of the angry video game nerd, what were you thinking? Holy shit. Okay, so we've established that game sucks. And that game I did not finish because I just did not want to. I could care less. And another thing that I hated about this game, Final Fantasy X was one of the first games where they gave characters voices. For whatever reason, when it came to Final Fantasy XII, they gave characters voices, but you know what? They talked about 1/3 less than they did in Final Fantasy X. So there was a ton more reading to do with it. Not that I don't mind reading, not that I can't read, but Jesus Christ, it's not a goddamn book.
So you're upset just because you had to read some text? Well, in the old days of the 8-bit and 16-bit era, you had to read all the text in the games and RPGs and stuff. I can sort of understand. I would prefer if they used the voice acting more, but still, it's not going to break the game if you just have to read a little more than you usually would have to do with a game with voice acting.
It's a goddamn new century video game that has the technology to give spoken words to the characters so I don't have to have a goddamn eye strain reading a goddamn television screen for 6 hours every night. Give the characters voices.
They don't have to if they don't want to.